Who are you?
I am, well, I like to think I'm a good person. Uh Nice and artistic and everything else. In the long run though, I guess just like anyone else, I'm very complicated. And with that comes the poetry, comes the arts, comes expressing myself and trying to find different formats of expressing myself, whether it's through acting or through poetry or writing stories and so forth. So I guess in the long run, I am complicated.
What gave you the idea for the Empty Room Poets Project?
I was in between shows because I was acting straight for about a year and a half or a little more and doing other things besides acting as well. And I finally wanted to kind of take a break and focus in on and something else artistic. And I thought, well, I have all these poems and all these writings and everything that I haven't really done anything with. And so I thought, well, okay, what can I do with these? I can, maybe put together like a poetry book, like some kind of collection or something like that, and maybe try submitting them. I tried submitting my work before in the past, and, I thought, okay, well, maybe if I just do like the self publishing route and do something like that. So I ran it past Mark, and he's like, "No, I love that idea. I think that's really, really cool." And he's like, "Well, and I've written poetry too, and so forth." And so I was like, "Oh, really?" I had no idea about this. I'd worked with the man in theater and so forth, and hung out with him, but I'd never realized that he actually wrote poetry or did anything else artistically except for music for the most part, from what I understood. And so I said, well, hey, send me some. I'd love to read some of your stuff. And he did, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was completely different from my style, from my technique, if you will, if you want to call it a technique. But I really appreciated it. I really enjoyed it for what it was. And I thought it was really, really cool. So I said, well, why don't we work together? Why don't we try to see if we can't formulate some kind of collaborative or something like that? And then, once I said that to him, I thought, well, at that point, I know of another poet that might be interested in doing this, which is Tatiana. And I know that she had already self-published a book beforehand of all of her poetry. And so I thought, well, why don't we all three work together and we try to make a project that encapsulates all of our artistic interests and endeavors, whether it's whether it's publishing, formatting, photography, poetry itself, of course, anything that we can encapsulate, and why not music? Let's try to get music going on in this project. And so with that, we all agreed, and we said we love this idea. Let's do it, and let's see where it goes off. And it's been over a year now, and we've formulated this whole CD of spoken word poetry with music from DJ Umbridge, and we've formulated this whole book together with photography from us and artistic ingenuity and formatting from us as well, and it's really come together. And with that, that's where I came up with the idea and how I've gotten from idea to reality, which is a great feeling.
Why do you write poetry?
Well, I write poetry, I think, just like anyone else, to either express without directly expressing a thought or an inspiration, but as well as to release emotion, whether it's being incredibly ecstatic about something or whether it's being completely downtrodden by something. It's a way of therapy, of self therapy, to release those through a positive artistic environment. A medium that doesn't involve more pain and hurt to oneself or to those within the environment. And I think it's been very, very helpful to help me understand who I am and how I can express myself and how I can improve as a person and as a human being and a member of society, kind of thing. And really just to understand me as a person, though, my background, and where I can take myself to as well as a human being. I write poetry also because I enjoy the challenge of writing. I enjoy, spinning a word around and trying to create, different meanings for it or new meanings for it. I love just playing around with words and trying to indulge in them and see where I can go with it, or within a rhyme scheme, and see how I can manipulate rhymes in a certain form or fashion. And, how can I describe something without being blunt about it or too direct about it, but still have that understanding come through to the reader or to the listener. And so I always love jumping on that challenge. And I think I'm very fortunate to find a passion where I can not only be challenged by it and something new comes out of it every single time I do it, but I can also encapsulate my other passions as well, whether it's acting or any other kind of artistic expression that I love to delve into. With this, I can express those or describe those different passions, but through this medium of poetry. Whether it's, writing because of inspirations of situations I've been in through, say, the acting process or the audition process, or just people I meet along the way because of those other artistic interests. I just feel very fortunate and very happy that I've found something where I just really can indulge and bring in everything. And what's nice about this project especially is that, we're performing spoken word poetry too. So again, this is another level of performance. This is storytelling. This is bringing something truly to life. Taking those images in my head and, again, trying to decipher them and break them down and then build them back up into something tangible in a word format that then helps the reader to get that visual aspect of what I was seeing visually. It's really an intense process, and it's really intriguing to try to realize that, oh my God, it went from vision to word, and somehow I'm getting that vision back. Just how rich the words were, how descriptive, or how one word associated with another, or the sounds of each word and how they hit could just bring upon that feeling, that emotion, or invoke that certain image that they had. And, through the spoken word outlet, you yourself are now not only seeing the image, running it down to words, but then you have to express it and act it out. And so you have to, play around with how you say the words and, where you're saying them and, where the emphasis really hits. And, it can change so much, your poem, just by how you even read it. And I think that's incredibly entertaining to the audience, but I think it's incredibly challenging to the poet. And again, taking on those challenges, I love that. I love being able to face something new or to face something different. And at the same time, really learning more about myself. Basically exposing myself, bearing myself to everyone in that room, but being proud enough to do it and to be strong enough to do it and say, take me as I am. And, you don't have many opportunities like that in any other kind of format except for poetry, where, you can really get true expression directly from that artist with their own words. No one else has written it for them. No one else has, prompted them. It's just coming straight from them, from their knowledge, from their emotions, from, their own soul. So it's so rich and it means so much more. And so that's why I write poetry, is because of that richness and how you can move someone and how you can really also admit who you are. And then it's really up to the poet to then know, okay, where do I go from here? How do I either move on, or how do I move myself up from there and get myself up from whatever dark place I was in when I wrote this piece. And so it's really truly a learning process. And again, I don't know of really any other format that can truly bring that to you. So that's why.